Narayanam namaskara naram devam narottamam devim saraswatim tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer his humble obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, to Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu bhagavata sevaya bhagavadyutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regularly hearing and chanting from Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the pure devotee, everything that is, okay, it's a free translation, everything that is painful for the heart will be almost destroyed, and loving devotional service for the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're going to read text 37, and starting Sanskrit line for line, and then going to the translation, purport, and sharing from me, discussion. Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Atida Pratisankrama
Katita Pratisankrama
Tatrimam Ka Upashiran
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Ka Usvit Anusirate
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Katita Pratisankrama
Katita Pratisankrama
Tatrimam Ka Upasiran
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Ka Usvit Anusirate
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Katida Pratishankrama
Katita Pratisankrama
Tatrimam Ka Upasiran
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Ka Usvit Anusherate Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Katita Pratisankrama
Katida Pratisankrama
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Tatrimam Ka Upasiran
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam
Bhagavam Stesham
Katira Pati Sankarmaha
Katita Pratisankrama
Tatrimam Ka Upasiran
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Ayushved Anasiriyate
Ka Usvit Anusherate
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Tatvanam Bhagavam Stesham
Katira Prati Sankrama
Katita Pratisankrama
Tatrimam Ka Upashiram
Tatremam Ka Upasiran
Ka Ushrid Anusarata
Ka Usvit Anusherate.
Would anyone else online like to recite the verse? Okay, so Damayanti, we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 37. So we'll do the word for word translation. Tatvanam,
Tatvanam,
of the elements of nature.
of the elements of nature.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
O great sage.
O great sage.
Tesham,
Tesham,
of them.
of them.
Katida,
Katita,
how many?
how many?
Pratisankrama,
Pratisankrama,
dissolutions,
dissolutions,
tatra,
tatra,
thereupon,
thereupon,
imam,
imam,
unto the Supreme Lord,
unto the Supreme Lord,
Ke,
Ke,
who are they,
who are they,
upasiran,
upasiran,
being saved,
being saved,
Ke,
Ke,
who are they,
who are they,
who,
who,
who, svit,
Svit,
may,
May,
anusherate,
Anusherate,
serve the Lord while he sleeps.
serve the Lord while he sleeps.
Translation. Please describe how many dissolutions there are for the elements of material nature, and who survives after the dissolutions to serve the Lord while he is asleep. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita 547-48, it is said that all the material manifestations with innumerable universes appear and disappear with the breathing of Mahavishnu lying in Yoga Nidra or mystic sleep. Ya Karanarma Bhajati Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidram Mananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupa Adara Shakti Mavalambya Param Svamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tam Maham Bhajami Yasyaika Nishvasitakala Matavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahanso Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Maham Bhajami. So, dear Govinda, you were reciting from Brahma Samhita earlier on, and here we have further texts.
Yes,
The
from this,
translation.
yes.
Govinda, the ultimate and supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, lies sleeping unlimitedly on the causal ocean in order to create unlimited numbers of universes during that sleep. He lies on the water by his own internal potency, and I worship that original supreme Godhead. Due to his breathing, innumerable universes come into existence, and when he withdraws his breath, there occurs the dissolution of all the lords of the universes. That plenary portion of the Supreme Lord is called Mahavishnu, and he is a part of Lord Krishna. I worship Govinda, the original Lord. After the dissolution of the material manifestations, the Lord and his kingdom beyond the causal ocean do not disappear, nor do the inhabitants, the Lord's associates. The associates of the Lord are far more numerous than the living entities who have forgotten the Lord due to material association. The impersonalist's explanation of the word aham in the 4 verses of the original Bhagavatam, aham me vasha me vagre, is refuted here. The Lord and his eternal associates remain after the dissolution. Vidura's inquiry about such persons is a clear indication of the existence of all the paraphernalia of the Lord. This is also confirmed in the Kashikanda as quoted by both Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, who follow in the footsteps of Srila Sridhar Swami. Najavante hyad bhakta mahatyam pralayapati atto chutto kile loke sa eka sarva kovyaha vyaya. The devotees of the Lord never annihilate their individual existences even after the dissolution of the entire cosmic manifestation. The Lord and the devotees who associate with him are always eternal in both the material and spiritual worlds. Okay, so before sharing my reflections on the text and purport, I want to say some prayers, and you're welcome to join me to make sure that whatever I share is aligned with what Srila Prabhupada and Krishna want us to hear and understand and get and realize, and I don't add anything or take anything away. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanjana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishvabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, before starting, I would like to see who is here. So I know dear Govinda, you're here, Haley and Anna Suya, and I think Rosa, and I heard George, maybe Daniel is there too, and Damayanti, and there's someone, RD.
And Rukmini.
Rukmini, oh, Hare Krishna, good morning. So, I am currently repeating verses I learned from Bhagavad Gita, and I'm in chapter 3, and the verse I'm trying to memorize this week is Vyamishreneva Vakyena Buddhimohaya Shiva Metadekam Vada Nischitya Yeno Shreyoham Apnuyam. And it's a verse that something that Arjuna says at the beginning, you know, after he said, I'm not going to fight Krishna, I'm not going to do this. Krishna gives a short instruction to Arjuna. Well, first he says, well, Arjuna, this doesn't fit you, not wanting to fight, come on, but it doesn't help. Arjuna is really in distress, and so Krishna gives a short explanation, that's chapter 2, about the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And at this point, at the beginning of chapter 3, Arjuna says, Krishna, you said so many things, I am completely confused. I don't know what to do. Can you just tell me precisely what I should do? And so that's the verse I'm learning. And either I'm super empathic with the verse I'm learning, or this is just the perfect verse for where I'm at in my life at right now, feeling, oh, so much information, and what am I supposed to do now? So this is kind of how I entered this verse, approached this verse, hoping to get some guidance for myself, for the confusion I am sitting in, and the resistance I am sitting in about being in this human existence. And at first I thought, well, this verse doesn't relate at all to where I'm at. And still I decided to surrender to it, to enter it, to go into meditation. And maybe this verse is just perfect to get me out of my box. And that's what happened. That's what actually happened. I found a lot of shelter and guidance in researching to give class today. So thank you, dear Govinda, for inviting me and trusting me to give class today. It was a very healing and soothing process for me.
Thank you for surrendering to the service.
So for me, there are 3 topics in this verse that stood out that I want to elaborate on a little bit. Of course, there's many, many more topics and nuances and dimensions, and someone else could speak about it a lot more. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about the first verse of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam for 3 months every day. So
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
So I'm just going to touch on 3 subjects here that I see as speaking to me. And the first is that Mahavishnu is mentioned. So Mahavishnu, okay, I'm in the wrong page. That's why I don't see. So Mahavishnu sleeps on the causal ocean, and Vidura is asking questions to Maitreya. Actually, I find the questions already in itself so inspiring, just to hear the questions. And later on, Maitreya is going to start responding. And so Vidura, he wants to know about Mahavishnu and what happens. And actually, reading the purport and the mentioning of the seed verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, I remembered that I don't know how many years ago, 10, 12, maybe even more years ago, we had a reading group on the seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I went to search a recording, and it was a telephone conference at that time. There was no Skype or Zoom. And I know like Patrick and Rebecca were there, and Rukmini, you were also there on this phone call. And Dear Govinda, you spoke about the seed verses, and you mentioned how Srimad Bhagavatam starts, it's like the follow-up of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita ends with surrender. There's the verse at the end of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Sarva dharmam paridyaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva pabebhyo mukshashyami masuchaha. And he says, just surrender unto me, give up any kind of religion, surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. And so that's where Bhagavad Gita ends. And then Srimad Bhagavatam starts from that point of surrender, and gives like a whole insight into the misery of the material prison house, and also into the sweetness of the shelter of the pure devotees and of Krishna. So that's what Srimad Bhagavatam is about, and it's supporting us to make our consciousness clear, like that our consciousness becomes a place free of anxiety. And Srimad Bhagavatam gives us reality as it is. There's no cheating. There's no misleading or trying to hide something or make something look better than it is. It's just, this is how it is. This is the misery of the prison house. And this is the sweet shelter and loving relationship with the pure devotee and with Krishna. So we get an explanation, a philosophical explanation of the creation of the material universe, and that's Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, he's lying on the causal ocean, and he inhales and exhales. And like his inhale takes millions and trillions of years, and his exhale also. So when he exhales, the manifestation of all the gross matter of all the universes happens, and when he inhales, everything goes back into his body, the gross matter and also the living entities. Maitreya explains that later on. The living entities in their subtle bodies, they return into the causal ocean, and they remain there for millions and trillions of years, waiting for the next manifestation, and they will get another gross material body, and they continue their journey in the prison house according to their desires and desire and deserves. And so at the beginning, when Mahavishnu exhales, at one point a lotus flower grows from his navel, and the lotus flower is the birthplace of Brahma. And I see, Rosa, I see you're smiling, and I'm just thinking of, yeah, like these explanations are so far out, and they are so much fun. I think they are so much fun. I loved fairy tales when I was a child. My father would tell them to me. Actually, later on, when I had my children, I stopped liking fairy tales. I also came in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam, and actually what happened, as a side, my daughter was really scared of the fairy tales. Whenever she heard a fairy tale, she couldn't go to sleep. And I found out that what troubled her was that the evil, like the witch or the whatever evil there is in the fairy tale, they just get destroyed. And we don't know what happens to them. And that was deeply distressing for her. And I was, and then I noticed that actually she loved all the leelas of Srimad Bhagavatam. Like she would listen to Lord Nrsingadev killing Hiranyakashipu. I mean, that's really good. And she loved it. And she couldn't go to sleep hearing a fairy tale. And I got like, yeah, what Srimad Bhagavatam offers is more than a fairy tale, because the evil doesn't just get destroyed or forever banned into hell. Evil gets transformed. And whoever's a demon who gets killed by Krishna is liberated from the evil existence, from that like terrible personality who wants to cause evil to everyone. And the soul is always pure and full of love, and that soul gets liberated. So anyway, I still love these far out stories, and here is they are considered not as just a story, yet as the biography of the universe, the biography of Krishna, the biography of Vishnu, the biography of Brahma, what's it called? The engineer of the universe. So Srila Prabhupada explains to us that he gives the verses from Brahma Samhita, and the Brahma Samhita was sung by Lord Brahma at the very beginning of his existence, or at the very beginning of him realizing that he exists. Because what we hear is that Lord Brahma was, he's like the only unborn, he's not born from a mother. He's not born from the womb of a mother. He's the only living entity that was created in the lotus flower, and for a long time he didn't know, he wasn't aware that he existed. He just was, and at one point he woke up and kind of realized, oh, I exist. And then he wanted to know who he is and where he is and how come he is where he is. And he climbed down from the lotus flower and came to the causal ocean and looked around and just couldn't figure out anything. And he went back into the lotus flower, and somehow he got like, oh, he's meant to do some austerity. And so that's what he did. And after another millions and trillions of years, Lord Krishna appeared and shook Lord Brahma's hand, said, I'm very happy with you. I'm very happy with you. And I'm now going to instruct you like who you are, what your role is, what you're meant to be doing. I'm going to give you all the information. And basically that's kind of what happens, or how devotional service or waking up to Krishna consciousness is like the process. Lord Chaitanya explains that in Chaitanya Charitamrita to Sanatana Goswami, like, yeah, somehow or other we come in contact with the pure devotee, and through that with Krishna, and then we get to understand by the spiritual master outside and in the heart, we get to understand how we can reach the ultimate goal of life, the ultimate shelter, the ultimate peace. And that's by hearing from Krishna. And so that's how Lord Brahma got his knowledge. And he's at the beginning of our parampara, as Dhira Govinda shared yesterday, of our parampara. There are other paramparas of our parampara. So it's the wake-up moment of Lord Brahma when he hears these verses. I think I didn't finish the Brahma Samhita. Krishna then, so he instructed Lord Brahma, and these the seed verses that are mentioned here, they are like the first, or the essence of all instructions of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, really. And then Krishna reveals to Lord Brahma the whole of creation and also the material and the spiritual world, and that's the Brahma Samhita. So that's how Lord Brahma could see, and he kind of got a plan. So here's what the material creation looks like, and then Brahma got all the ingredients and the Lego to put them together into the material universe. And he could also see into the spiritual world, which is never created. It just is. And Lord Brahma could, like, I think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, like, by television, something like, so almost like we can watch on television about a different country. Lord Brahma could see before his inner eye a video of the spiritual world and of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead as Govinda. So that's the Brahma Samhita. So the seed verses. I'm going to look at my notes. I think I'm losing my thread a little bit. No, I'm not. So in the seed verses, Lord Krishna explains to Lord Brahma what the essence of existence is really. He describes he describes the relationship of the soul with Krishna, the activities that a soul does who is in relationship with Krishna, and then the ultimate goal of life, which is love of Krishna, which is kind of what all religions teach. Lord Jesus Christ came to again uncover what's the essence of what the Jewish tradition, what they were like aiming at, the first commandment, to love God with all our heart and all our soul and all our might. So Lord Jesus Christ came to like make it clear again. That's what it's about. It's not about the proper dress and the proper prayers and the proper behavior. Of course, that's also important. Yet it's not about that. If we make our goal of life to be perfect in following all the rules and regulations, we're just going to most likely miss the goal, which is love of God. So that's also what Krishna said to Lord Brahma. That's the goal of life, to love God with all our heart, all our might. That's not what he doesn't say these words, but love Krishna. That's the goal of life. And yeah, the seed verses are, I was considering to go there. What also came to my mind is that Lord Chaitanya, he explains the seed verses to the inhabitants of Varanasi, and they are all impersonalists. They are all like aiming at becoming one with the energy of the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya, he speaks to them, he explains the seed verses to them, and all of them, thousands of them, are just convinced by just seeing Lord Chaitanya and hearing him. They are convinced, no, actually, true bliss and devotion that comes from devotion lies in a personal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I have it ready. We might go there later on. I could read the verses, how Lord Chaitanya explained the verses to the inhabitants of Varanasi. Basically, what the message is that Krishna is eternal, like he existed before the material creation. He existed before anyone existed. And he exists throughout the manifestation of the material universe. And when the material universe dissolves, he continues to exist. There's no birth and no death. And also his pure devotees, the eternal associates of the Lord, they always exist. They never disappear. And in this process of devotional service, and this is not what Lord Chaitanya speaks about, this is my actually, I did also read it somewhere. in this process of surrender and realizing who we are as spirit souls and eternal servants of Krishna, who are only satisfied completely in our deepest heart when we find love for Krishna and when we only seek shelter in him. In this process, our material personality gets dissolved. Our material person, like our thoughts, our concepts, our feelings, the subtle body, it gets destroyed. And I was reflecting on that because I had a conversation with my husband recently, and we've been together for almost 30 years, and I'm 44 years old, so it's a very long time. Most of my life I spent with this person, and he with me, and we were speaking about how we changed. Like our personality has completely changed many times throughout our time together, and especially since we both took to Krishna consciousness and the process of self-realization, our personality is just different. And we were actually, in a kind of humorous way, speaking about what we still get married and have children if we were to meet now. There's so many differences. There's so many different ways we go about life and about things. And yet we're a really good team. We've become a really good team because where we meet is in our desire to come to love God and in our desire to surrender to Srila Prabhupada's teachings and to really apply them in our lives in an authentic way and also find ways to share it with others. So that's where we meet. And yet our material personality, they have changed and they are in the process of completely being destroyed. And there's many other things. Just also yesterday, I got a phone call from someone and she said, oh, like there's a child, second grade, really like suffered so much at school, diagnosed with whatever there is on the menu. And he's no longer going to school and they're looking for a teacher. Someone gives private lessons, probably paid by the government. And, like 5 years ago, this would have been my dream. Just go and teach one child, not a full class, and get the full payment of a teacher. And I denied. I realized, no, I don't want to do this. Like some years ago, that was a desire I had. And now Krishna is presenting it to me on a gold plate, saying, here, the fulfillment of your desire. And I was tempted for 2 seconds. And then I said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is no longer my desire. And I can see that happening in my life so many times. There's a children's song which says, what would be the translation? Jack in the snake house, no, in the snail house, has everything he wants. And what he wants, he doesn't want. And what he doesn't have, he doesn't get. Something like that. It's like a fun children's lullaby. And I can relate to that so much. I want something. And then Krishna arranges for me to get my desire fulfilled. Yet on my path of surrender, my desires change. Or I no longer have these desires. And then I get the result. And I'm like, oh, I don't want this. Why do I have it? Yeah. So, but our personality, that's kind of what happens in the dissolution of the universe. That's my understanding. If our material personality is not destroyed, if we haven't come to fully give up and surrender the material conditioning, we will go and lie in the causal oceans for millions of years and then get another body and then get another chance. So it's kind of a long process. And what Vidura wants to know is, well, what happens? Like there the Lord remains. He's not going into the causal ocean, and his pure devotees are not going there either. And so that's kind of the third topic that stands out for me in this. So it's the Mahavishnu, it's the seed verses, and then it's the Lord and his devotees. And I made a note, I said, his devotees are always eternal. So it's kind of a double term. They are always eternal. And in my personal reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm jumping around a little. In my systematic reading, I'm in Canto 7, and yet recently I'm reading about Devahuti being instructed by her son Kapila. So Devahuti, she was a very pious, pure woman, and she married Kardamuni, who was a mystic yogi and a devotee of Krishna. And Kardamuni wants to leave married life, and Devahuti is upset, and she says, "No, I only have daughters. Who is going to take care of me when you leave? I would like to have a son." And so Kardamuni promises her to give her a son, and then Kapila is born. Kapila is an incarnation of Krishna. And Kardamuni disappears into the forest, and Devahuti is with her son, and she asks him, and that's where I felt really met in my own distress around being in the prison house. Devahuti says to her son, "I am sick of disturbances caused by the material senses. I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance." So that's her position. She realizes, I'm lost. I'm a slave to my senses and my desires. And Devahuti, she's very pure. And she's saying that. So it's easy for me to say that too. in the situation where I'm at, or the conditioning I am in. So I am sick of the disturbances caused by material senses. I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. And from that place of feeling sick and fed up with material consciousness, she's open to hear. And that's the place where I am open to hear. When I get really I was looking at my resistance to the material context and feeling the pain of that, and really allowing myself to feel the pain and not trying to change it or trying to like it here. I was open to really hear Srimad Bhagavatam and hear the message in a way that when I'm just reading over it, I'm not really getting it. So Devahuti wants to be enlightened about the relationship between matter and spirit. Actually, she wants to be enlightened about the relationship between man and woman and matter and spirit. So Lord Kapila responds that, okay, I will give you the highest yoga. There's many yogas. There's many ways to link with Krishna and kind of come out of ignorance. That's what Devahuti wants. She wants to come out of ignorance and be liberated from the senses that just never take a rest. They never take a holiday. They always want to go somewhere and enjoy somewhere. So Lord Kapila gives the highest yoga. And he says that highest yoga, it's practicable and it's serviceable and practical in every way. And it's very simple. We are always attached to something. So instead of being attached to the senses and for them to be gratified, just be attached to Krishna. Very simple. So how to do that? And Lord Kapila actually then explains, when we do that, when we attach our consciousness to Krishna, then our heart gets purified from desires, from material desires. It gets purified from this burning fire of lust that can take over everything. The heart gets purified of false identification, meaning we're no longer going to search for fulfillment or understanding or care or appreciation or whatever in material relationships. We're no longer going to try and get it there. We're no longer thinking that I am the body or my thoughts or my feelings. So the mind also becomes purified, and we can transcend the material happiness and distress. So that's Lord Kapila's instruction. And then at that point, the soul can see herself as transcendental, as the experiencer. And that's what Krishna speaks about in Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse at the end of the 14th chapter. Majaya vyabhicharena bhakti yogana sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And it means like if someone is serving Krishna, like in uninterrupted, under any circumstance, then he transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman. And Brahman is the point where we realize where we realize ourselves as the observer. I'm not the sadness, I'm not the pain, I'm not good enough or whatever I'm identifying with. I'm the observer of that. And that's the level of Brahman. And then Krishna continues to say in the next verse, and I am the source of that Brahman. So realizing that I'm Brahman, I'm consciousness, is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to realize, oh, there's a source of Brahman, and that is Krishna. And that's the personal relationship. And that's what Lord Kapila calls the perfection of self-realization. And it can only be achieved by devotional service. And when when Krishna is realized, we become indifferent to material relationships. So that's kind of the circle. That's kind of the full circle. Realizing that was my process, one part of my process this week, realizing that I'm tired of relationships, material relationships. It's true. I'm tired of relationships where it's about, I want to get something from you and you give me something, and this kind of dealing with each other. I'm tired of it. It's like trying to get some juice, some water out of a stone. And I squeeze and there's no water coming, and I get frustrated and angry, and I get angry at the stone and then blame myself, and just like I'm tired of that. And the thing is, we're not made for that. Like no human being can fulfill, even if we're perfect. Dear Govinda, you might ask me to be quiet now. But even if we're really well trained in transformative communication, we are not able to fulfill, like to give. We're not able to fulfill the desire of someone's desire for unconditional love and ultimate shelter, unless we're pure devotees. Like a pure devotee can fulfill our desire for unconditional love. Yet we as conditioned human beings, we are not able to do that. And so I enter relationships, and I'm always looking for that unconditional love and unconditional shelter and protection in relationships, and it's just not going to come. So it's like a useless endeavor. And so the perfection of self-realization. So that's kind of coming to devotional service, coming to understand it's like that which I am looking for is not found in other conditioned human beings. It's only found in the relationship with the pure devotee and with Krishna himself. We become indifferent to these material relationships. And it doesn't mean that we're no longer relating to other conditioned souls, to the other inmates in the prison house. It means we're not seeking our fulfillment there. And we are engaging from a place of giving and accepting and empathy. And that's what Lord Kapila also then expresses. We should become attached to the pure devotees because they are kind to all. They are kind to all living entities. They are peaceful, they are tolerant, and they are merciful. And we can come to a place of freedom from any kind of anxiety by thinking of Krishna always, and by thinking of the pure devotees and how they are dealing with each other. And Krishna says that's pleasing to talk about Krishnas and his devotees with other devotees. And I was listening to a class by Srila Prabhupada where he was also speaking about devotional service. It's a class on this verse of when Devahuti says, I am tired, I am sick of being a slave to the material senses. And Srila Prabhupada, he speaks about devotional service, and he says at the end, it's about thinking of Krishna all the time, engaging the mind in thinking of Krishna. Why don't you do it? Why don't you just do it? It's like so easy. It's so simple. Just think of Krishna. And if anyone here is interested in this topic of what is the relationship between man and woman, that's the pastime to go, because Devahuti then asks, well, how can I take to devotional service as a woman in the body of a woman? And Lord Kapila gives the very simple response. He says, worship Krishna. That's it. That's it. We don't need to. And I think, dear Govinda, yesterday you spoke about, it's not about knowing, it's not about knowledge. Loving devotion to Krishna is not about knowledge. It's not about knowing the verses or what is written there. It's about developing the devotion. It's about worshipping, and that's a matter of the heart and not a matter of the mind. Of course, we can also engage the mind, yet essentially it's a matter of the heart. And the heart that's where Lord Chaitanya, what Lord Chaitanya teaches about so much. The heart, it's in the heart that the seed of love of God is eternally placed. Every living entity. So other living entities in my room are 2 plants. They also have a soul, and also there is a seed of loving devotion to Krishna, and it's I don't know, maybe it's waking up right now. Because that's what Lord Chaitanya teaches. When we hear about Krishna, when we come in touch with a pure devotee, we hear. So right now we're hearing from so many pure devotees through Srila Prabhupada. That seed starts to become alive. And from the spiritual master, we get devotional service. We get the activity of how to relate to God. And that activity is like the water that nourishes the seed to grow and become strong. And that's the love that awakens in the heart, that grows and grows. And in our age, what Lord Chaitanya teaches, the way of remembering and worshipping, is to chant the holy names. A very, very simple process. Srila Prabhupada says it doesn't cost anything. We don't have to pay tax for it. We don't have to join any religion or cult or organization. There's no rules and regulations. You don't need a certificate to do it. You don't need a master's degree. You don't need to be a doctor. There's no dress code. There's no restriction according to gender. Doesn't matter what your political orientation is. It's just what your religion is. You can identify with Jew or Christian or whatever and chant Hare Krishna. There's just no restriction, nothing at all. So, and Srila Prabhupada often says, why don't you do it? Why don't you just do it? Very simple. And Lord Chaitanya says, like this famous verse that he quotes, Harir Nama Harir Kevalam Kala Nastieva Kasini Nastieva Gatir Anyata. I think that's it. And he says, in our age, I just did a live demonstration of what happens in our age. The mind gets just completely unfocused, and there's so much quarrel, and there's so much falsity. And so in this age, the quickest way, the the quickest yoga is to chant the holy names of God. And we get the Maha Mantra. In other traditions, there are other mantras and other names of God, and we get the Maha Mantra. The Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 3 names of God that are complete, calling out to the all-attractive one, Krishna, calling out to the female energy of Krishna, personified by Srimati Radharani, and then calling out to the source of all bliss and all joy, which is what we are all looking for. So, coming in contact with the pure devotees and serving the pure devotee, that's where our thirst and desire for ultimate love unconditionally, eternally, is coming from, and also the ultimate shelter and protection. And there's a pastime when Lord Chaitanya meets Ramananda Roy, and I think it's Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya who sends him to go and meet Ramananda Roy, who's like a very renowned scholar. And Lord Chaitanya asks Ramananda Roy very many questions. And one of the questions he asks is, what is the greatest pain? What is the greatest pain one can experience? And I was always convinced until I read this. The greatest pain is a mother who loses her child. That's the greatest pain. And what Ramananda Roy says, the greatest pain is separation from the pure devotee. That's the greatest pain, if we're separated from the pure devotees. And it said that like one moment, just the blink of an eye blink, contact with the pure devotee, that's we're saved. That's mercy. We come on the path of realizing the ultimate goal of life. And the pure devotee has no material personality. That's why he remains eternally. He's not dissolved in the causal ocean. When Lord Mahavishnu inhales, his personality is eternal. He's eternally relatable. We can relate to him always. And he's always reliable, and he's trustworthy, and he's never going to change. He's not changing his character, and he's not changing his likes and dislikes. It's not that one day he will say, no, today, Anandini, I don't want to associate with you. No, like he's like always there, and always caring and always kind. And that's we prayed at the beginning, and we pray at the end of the morning program, at the first part of the morning program, we pray Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. It's a prayer to the Vaishnavas who can fulfill all desires. They can fulfill all desires. And what does it mean? Do they bring us a villa when we want a nice house, or a fast car, or a nice husband? No, they don't. They fulfill our deepest desire to connect with Krishna, and then all the other desires, they dissolve. They're no longer here. That's how they fulfill all our desires. The desire for unconditional love and ultimate shelter. Yeah, I think I'm coming to the end. What I discovered this week is a beautiful. I joined Mother Marley's ashram this week, online. I'm very enlivened by what she's offering, and I encourage all the women to join. And I'm sorry that the men are not allowed to join. I hope there will be a men's ashram in that way one day. And they sing a song from the Christian tradition. And it really spoke to me. And I will read the first 2 lines and then I'm going to end. And the song goes, you call upon the waters, the great unknown where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery. In oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine. And I'm yours and you are mine. It means like they're talking to the Savior. They are talking to Lord Jesus Christ. Yet it's a song we can sing to any pure devotee. We can sing it to Srila Prabhupada. And the chorus goes, Spirit leads me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Hare Krishna, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. And I'll read the verse again. Please describe how many dissolutions there are for the elements of material nature and who survives after the dissolution to serve the Lord while he is asleep. So any sharings, questions, doubts, corrections, reflections, what's happening for you? This is my favorite part of the class. Rosa.
There was a talk, however many months ago, Nitya Gopal was talking about how coming from the ultimate, we observe ourselves as separate, and then in forgetfulness, we have a yearning for that which we've come from. So permanence, persistence, love, and how we create such a mess trying to manifest or like create these things looking for love in other, right? Or trying to create persistence in a location or a job or a relationship. And we create a lot of suffering that way. And what you shared today about the seeking of the ultimate shelter and care, it reminds me of that. This comes from the source, not in our going about trying to create it for ourselves, you know. So thank you. I mostly want to say I'm very, very grateful for your talk today. I have very much to think about, and thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, so what I shared was addressing something you heard a few months ago, and it seems like very relevant for you to yeah, think about where are you searching for fulfillment and care.
Thank you. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. It's such a tricky thing. I catch myself again and again and again and again and again wanting to get that fulfillment out of friends or husband or, you know, children or wherever. And then I crash and then like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with relationships. And then, oh yeah, I'm just searching in the wrong place. Let me, you know, like, let me get connected to where I get that unconditional love. And then from that place, meet my friends and my husband and my children and my neighbors and meet them from that place where I'm resourced and I'm ready to give empathy, and also I'm ready to put healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Any other questions or reflections?
Thank you for your class. I'm inspired by all of the points you presented, Anandini, and your energy and consciousness and Krishna consciousness in giving class. If well, one thing I was reminded of Srila Prabhupada signing all his letters. He wrote thousands of letters as your ever well wisher. At least that's how he would sign in to disciple to his followers. Yeah, your ever well wisher. That because you know, we can material relationships essentially are, it's business relationship. I'll give you, it could be just grossly material, or it could be, I get a sense of power when you adore me, or feeling loved, or I get, I get a sense of you do my thinking for me. It's always like that, and so that the Atma Rama consciousness, and so Srila Prabhupada, he's giving us Krishna. He's giving us, he's giving us Krishna, and that where was it that mm, recently there was the quote by, well, I've heard it. It's the French philosopher, mathematician Pascal. That everyone has a God-shaped hole in the heart. Meaning, we have a hole in the heart. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor, and it's only God can fit that hole. So God, of course, in personal, intimate form, Krishna. So we can be someone's true well-wisher by giving them Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, even if it's a good relationship, it's really just a material business that's kind of, at best, a distraction from the real business for the spirit soul. If you'd like to speak a bit more about, you said, like, you use the term like becoming indifferent to material relationships. If you want to, I appreciate how you expanded on it, but if you want to speak a bit more about indifference to relationships, how does that relate to becoming a callous, uncaring person, or not?
Yeah.
Well, that would be the easy way to just, Anasuya.
Yeah, no, I'm actually very, I wanted to jump in because that was a perfect lead-in, because Haley and I have been meeting on a regular basis, and I've had a relationship with my brother that wasn't very satisfying, and I always blamed my brother. I always thought he was wrong and I was right. And so there was a shift for me, because we were practicing nonviolent communication and the core commitments. And one of the first core commitments is love them no matter what. Yeah. Just love them no matter what. Mm-hmm. And then I found myself softening and not like criticizing, and just being present and offering prasadam, and just like, what can I do to help you? Like, he has things going on in his life too. Mm-hmm. And so now he's texting me and he's calling me, and we're talking more, and it's not just about dad and his care. And so it feels like when you actually give your essence of just being with someone and not projecting anything on them. It's just, you're just, just having a loving presence. That just softened everything. And he could tell the difference in my body. He could tell the difference in my communication. He could tell the difference in my interactions with him. But I didn't want anything from him anymore. I didn't want anything from him. It was just, I just want him to be happy. And so I just, that was a real big shift for me. Yeah. And it's so amazing, because I've been going to foundational course and advanced course, and I've always had this thing with my brother, and it didn't shift until I realized I was committing violence against him. I was actually committing violence. And so it was like, okay, I don't want to commit violence anymore towards my brother. And so it has shifted dramatically, and that's amazing. And so that was really true for me, and I wanted to interject.
I'm glad my comment opened that door for you.
It did.
Thank you, Anasuya, for sharing your transformation in your relationship to your brother. You didn't become indifferent. And that's my understanding of becoming indifferent, is like the opposite of not caring anymore. I know for me, that's like my automatic conditioning goes to, I just shut my heart. I'm tired of this person. I don't want any contact. I just want to disappear. I blame myself and I just don't want to exist anymore. I go into voidism. And indifference is, yeah, I think, you know, in what you just shared, Anasuya, it's like I'm no longer expecting this person to fulfill the void in my heart. I'm no longer expecting, I like the quote you shared, dear Govinda. I'm no longer expecting a human to fit the shape, the God-shaped hole in my heart. And yet I'm relating from a place of deep care and kindness for the person. And we had a discussion about this in our Bhagavad Gita reading course. And someone shared Lord Francis' prayer, and for me that's what it means to be indifferent in relationships. I'm not depending my sense of who I am and my fulfillment on how the other person acts or responds to me. And yet I am committed to show up as loving and caring and with an open heart and ready to serve the person, whatever it takes for them to come to a higher consciousness. And I will share the prayer by St. Francis, because it's really about peace. It's about the Lord. It's called the prayer of peace. And it says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. So it's not my peace, my idea of how the person should be so that I can feel good. It's I'm an instrument of the Lord's peace. And where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. And it continues the prayer, and he prays, O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand, to be consoled as to console, and to love as to be loved, not to be loved as to love, that I seek more to love than to be loved. And then he says, for it is giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So it's when our material personality dies, we are born to eternal life. So that's what comes to me, to your question and invitation, dear Govinda.
Thank you, Anandini and Anasuya. It's very nurturing. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Damayanti.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the class and for the sharing, everyone. I feel emotional listening to this last portion of the discussion, and I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Like in my role as mother and wife, and I guess it's really mother, but the thing is happening, it's between my husband. Like I'm wanting him to do something different in parenting. Just, and I'm not gonna go into all the details, but I'm judging and I'm anxious and I'm sad and sometimes I feel like panic um and it's not like for selfish. I mean, on the surface it doesn't appear like I want to get something out of you from me. It's more like the service needs to be done for these sons and time is passing and I feel urgency to do the service well, and I'm like my attempts are failing or my attempts are being overridden, and it's like I don't know. I don't want to become indifferent. And I know I would love it like a spiritual response, not so much, like coaching or like, I'm what's happening for me is I'm wanting to actually turn to the saints. And I love that what you shared from Saint Francis. And I actually purchased books this week to like try to uplift my consciousness, but I don't want to just turn away from the service altogether. And I don't want to do the mode of ignorance. I don't want to do the mode of passion.
Mhm.
Just I'm I'm stuck with like how to be present, not indifferent, and not be attached. And I don't know, I've really struggled with some things with co-parenting. If you have any comments.
Thank you, Damayanti, for sharing. And I get it's real for you, and it's very emotional, and it's where you're feeling stuck. And in this, yeah, well, what I'm hearing and related to what I was researching and sharing today, it seems to be like, well, I get you'd like to come to a transcendental position where you are free to love your children and your husband and to be at peace no matter what they do. And this is not where you're at. And it seems like you're making your own inner peace and ability to love dependent on how your husband acts. And that's a painful place. It's a painful place. You're wanting your husband to feel the peace in you. And it's for your children, and at the same time it's for you. It seems it's for you. And
I'm not sure how much I want to share. Obviously, emotional right now, but I'm not sure how much I want to share, like in this setting and recording and everything. But thank you for hearing me. And those reflections are helpful.
And in Sattva language, what comes to me is that, you know, the expectations with emotional attachments. I can see that in myself when I was processing that, sitting with it this week very much. My resistance to well, relationships and the suffering in it and all of that. And I came back to looking at my expectations. What am I expecting from the other person? And I make my own well-being and my capacity to love dependent on the other person fulfilling that expectation. Like, he should be more considerate, he should be more understanding, he should share knowledge, whatever that is. And then I make my well-being and my ability to love dependent on that. And I create my own prison. And by letting go of the emotional attachment, then I'm freed, and the possibility for others to change is more likely. And in essence, that's my understanding of you know, Lord Chaitanya's teachings and Lord Kapila to his mother. That's the mother-son relationship. Is to connect with the transcendental knowledge that we get from Srila Prabhupada and to find solutions there.
Thank you for your responses.
Thank you, Damayanti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anandini. Danielle has a question.
Hare Krishna. So
Daniel, Krishna.
I love this, and I love this in the context of those in our life who are in our family or in our, in our intimacy bubble. How does this relate, less intimately into those who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, or those who are, inimical, or who are demoniac, or causing people to be put into suffering, or deriving great benefit from people who are suffering, or wanting to cause difficulty and disturbance? What is the position of someone who is detached, equiposed, and wanting to be ever well-wisher? How do we relate and what is the pathway towards that? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Danielle. I'd like to understand what you mean relate to what relates to this, to those who are like, maybe their heart is completely closed and covered by concrete. Could you say?
Yes, in the context of the topic, where we are able to approach others in a detached manner for their eternal benefit and are able to become a transformation touchstone for consciousness for them and relate to them in a loving, compassionate way. How do we stay? Because there are many situations in which and often it's in a business context, often it's in a professional context, often it's in a, service that they're providing or that I'm providing, or there's some kind of, mutual project that puts us into proximity with one another. And yet I can immediately perceive like you're saying, the heart encased in concrete or worse,
Yeah.
So how does this interplay?
Thank you, Danielle. Well, recently when I took the advanced course, I was introduced to a new song, a song I never heard before. And in many ways, it's very simple and it's profound. And the text is like, someone is singing. So when I meet you in your anger, or when I meet you, it's just describing different people. Like when I meet someone who's like very famous, or when I meet someone who's deeply in anger, or someone who's elated, or when I meet someone in a history book who has killed millions of Jews. And he's praying. What I understand is a prayer, and he says, "May I open my heart to you." So the song is about how can we open our heart to anyone, no matter where they are at, where they're stuck in, what they're doing, what their consciousness is. And the chorus goes, and if all of it dissolves and the truth is what I see, deep love for you is all that rests in me. And I find that very like profound. Like when I see the truth, I can meet Hitler with an open heart. And seeing the truth is exactly kind of what we explored today, to see every soul is an eternal servant of Krishna. And in the conditioned state, that love, that unconditional love, is covered in different ways, in subtle ways and in gross ways, and it can be covered with concrete. And so I see it as part of my work in Bhakti Yoga is to come to this place of seeing the truth. It's when Krishna says to see the super soul, or see the soul in every living entity, like and that comes with empathy and knowledge, transcendental knowledge. So that what comes to me. Maybe someone has something to add.
I like that perspective of the eternality and how each of us is relating to Krishna, and it might be in very different and hard to understand ways. And really from that, there's so much that comes up for me about, when we see these demoniac personalities in the Sastra who were not in previous births or who will not be in next births, but for those moments in time, they were just terrifying personalities that did so much harm to other living entities. And so I guess, that really does relate to what I'm seeing here. Because I also like the detachment portion, because not needing to make things right or wrong, or to be the arbiter of the truth, and really holding space for Krishna, orchestrating everything perfectly. And for me, just doing my little part of being the spark that's inside of me, and just giving off what I have to offer, not to them, but for them, to Krishna, and allowing that itself to just be its own little service project, privately, that I'm doing, that has nothing to do with relating to them uniquely, just as I would with anyone. I also really like the aspect of the no one is irredeemable, because I believe that to be in every core ancient wisdom tradition, but sometimes it gets lost. And there is this idea of, like a personality that's beyond beyond being saved. And it's always been it's always been a point of contention for me of why I've never been surrendered to another wisdom tradition, because in the telling and the retelling, it often comes out that there is like a person who is not that way. But when I pay attention to just the central core truths of the wisdom tradition, that's not what's espoused. And just the bhakti. Just the bhakti is, yeah, there's only love and there's only redemption. There's only an opportunity for coming back home. And I like that, because we're often in a position to be arbiters or to be, judges. And in some regard, I've heard it said often that we can't not judge, right? We have this capacity for understanding the truth of the situation in front of us. But also, I think we are also deeply covered in illusion. And so we can only trust those perceptions to a certain degree. We can't see the entirety of the way that the interplay is happening on a cosmic level. So I like limiting my self to what it is that has to do with myself, and not needing to be in charge of the cosmic judgment, and really seeing myself as like, okay, I don't know what's happening. This person's got all this stuff going on and I can see it, but yet I don't know whatever else I can't see. Like, I can only see what I can see. And so Krishna's in charge of the things that I can't see. And I can just do my little part here. For some reason I'm in contact with this person, and who knows what that's going to do for them, but I'm just going to not allow it to contaminate me and do my little service, my secret service project, and do whatever I can to give them a little bhakti, if it's a little prasadam, if it's a little kirtan, if it's a little just Hare Krishna dropped in somewhere randomly right before we get off a call. Who knows what will happen for them? And I don't have to be in charge of the project to, defend myself or.
You don't have to take over Krishna's role.
Yes, and I don't have to defend myself in any way, and I don't have to worry about it, because, Krishna's got me. I can be safe and I can be strong and I can be steady and not worry about what Krishna's got planned for them, and still have that level of care, but also the level of detachment required to do the service.
Thank
Materially
you.
and non-materially. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for drawing the bigger picture. Everyone's serving Krishna. Krishna says everyone follows my order, whether in material conditioning or pure. Like material conditioning, it's by force, and it's often just suffering. And by conscious choice, it's bliss. And all I can do is focus on my service. Like, I don't know if you have that's in German, we say, I take care of my own garden and not of the garden of others. That's the other's business. And to have the whole overview, that's Krishna's business and not ours. Hare Krishna. I see that our time is up. Thank you all.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.